Okay, so now that we're recording, so hi, welcome everyone. This is the virtual network tonight for pre-service teachers, and it's November 1st, and this is the evening recording. We did meet this morning and had a successful virtual network this morning, so that's super excited. I'm April Forts, and I'm the state mathematics consultant for pre-K through 12 at the Iowa Department of Education. Prior to joining the department, I was an instructional coach. Prior to that, I was a classroom teacher for 10 years, and before that I did a registered home daycare. So the little ones, I like to learn more about those even though I'm secondary certified, but I do support the whole continuum, and prior to that I was active duty military for 6 years. So the reason why I wanted to start the virtual network was to support and connect you all. I really am honored to have my job at the Iowa Department of Education, and I actually do consider it a way to serve the state using my skill set where I can have the biggest impact on kids, helping educators to be efficient and effective in their practice. And that really is what drives me. Like, I want to be the biggest impact and do things the best that I can. And I'm the first one to say I make mistakes all the time, but that's how we all learn. So I gave you a little bit about myself. Also, I'm hoping that this will possibly grow into something more as I can connect students across the different universities while you're going through your pre-service training, because it's so important that you have that network and you have that professional community, and you'll have that within your districts. But there might be some times where you're like, I need support, or I need to connect with somebody that's not in my district, or you'll just have that camaraderie and you'll learn and grow together. And so we're going to see where this goes. And it's also to make me more accessible to the practitioners. I am totally committed to the teachers. Even though I'm at the Iowa Department of Education, and it is politics at the state level, it's political. It's political, right? Because I speak for the governor. And so my messaging does come down through him, but at the same time, I'm going to connect to what is the best in the field. Because when I was in the classroom, I didn't always know. Sometimes I would Google it, and I didn't know if it was credible or not. I didn't know if I found something, well, is this going to work? Is this best practice? Is this going to tell me about my students what I need? And I always told my students, they were always like, why are you so passionate? And I said, because I never want to be the reason that you don't get to fulfill your dreams and that you end up in poverty. And we all know from the data that the more math knowledge that students have, the least likely that they will end up in poverty, which leads to other things. So I always worked really hard for those reasons. I've worked for everything that I have. I went to school as a non-traditional student. And so I just know how important mathematics was to me and how many doors that opened for me. So that's a little bit about myself. Also because, math is a field where we do have shortages across this country. And the more support that we can, because we need you in the profession. We need elementary math teachers, we need secondary math teachers, we need higher ed, we need special ed, we need math instructional coaches, all those things that go into making students as successful in the future as they possibly can be. So it takes all of us, and we definitely want to give you that support. Feel free to contact me at any time that you have a question, and I sincerely do mean that. Even though I'm at the state level, nothing makes me happier than when I can connect somebody with something that they're looking for, or to help make their lives or job easier. Part of my role at the state is I'm privileged to be able to travel around to certain professional development opportunities that are only open to state leads. So I go to some things that only people in my position across the nation are able to go to. And one of those things is so that we get the best of the best nationwide, and then we're bring it back to the state. So that's what I'm going to talk about tonight, is some of those things that I've collected and have made accessible to all of you. And so so you don't have to Google things. You don't have, there's great things on Google. There's great things on Pinterest. But you don't really know if things are credible or not, or is this going to work? Is this best practice? And all those sorts of things. So what we're going to talk about tonight is the Iowa Department of Education Mathematics website, the Iowa Core Mathematics, those are our standards and mathematical practices, the math resources, principles to actions, then we'll take some general questions. I will be sending out a survey, and we will have a Q&A. So I will stay on after I'm done with the presentation. So if you're shy or you're like, hey, I wanted to just, ask you this afterwards, I will hang out as long as you need me to. Another thing is, if you ever email me and I don't get back to you within 24 hours, please email me again. That's just a professional commitment that I made when I took this position, because nothing made me crazier than when I would try to get something done when I was in the classroom, or I was trying to, maybe implement something, and I'd have to wait, not knowing, did the person get the email, or are they just busy, or are they out of the office, what's kind of going on. So I always try to get back to you within 24 hours, even if it's a, hey, let me check on that for you. So if you're just joining us, please go into the chat and put your name in there, because that is how I will take attendance to send it to your university contacts. So we'll talk about those things. So the first thing we're going to jump into tonight is the Iowa Department of Education. This is our main website. So when you go to the Iowa Department of Ed and you search for mathematics, you're going to find me. And we're going to highlight a couple of things with the Iowa Core Mathematics, the resources, the top 5, the State Math Leadership Team, and PAEMST. So if you go into the Iowa Department of Education and you search in alphabetical order and you select M and go under mathematics, you'll come up to my page. So you'll see this is my office phone. However, if you call it and I'm not available in my office, it does forward to my cell phone. And there's my email, which you all have because you would have received an email from me. Up here is just a navigation that allows you to jump down. Here we list the laws and regulations and requirements for teacher endorsements. This page right here, this is the Iowa Core in Mathematics. So when you go to here, this is where you get all of the standards and the mathematical practices. And if you've seen the hard copy of the standards, the first couple of pages, if you open this, this is the first couple of pages. So we actually did a copy and paste and put all that information in here for you. And then also up here, I believe you can get to the standards for mathematical practice right here. So if you click on that, you'll get to all the standards of mathematical practice right there at the top. So if you're looking for those, they're also later on this page, but the standards for mathematical practice are so important, and we often stop at just the content standards, and that's just half of the ticket. You can also go in and search the individual grade levels. And if you go into 3rd grade, it gives you some of the background. Again, you can get to the mathematical practices. And if you select a domain, you'll see the standards. Now, something that we just added today is we added this supporting information. And this actually is what's going to align to our assessment with Smarter Balance. So I'm going to do a deeper dive next month for it at the December 1. So if you want to know more about that, what it looks like for the assessment, that's when we'll be talking about that. So that's a new thing. Also, over to the right-hand side, you can get the Word document and PDF. And this link right here, this is a high school course models. For you secondary people, I get a lot of questions about what does the traditional path look like? What does the integrated path look like? Because the high school standards are not grade specific, they're high school specific. And so because we're a local control state, each district decides what their curriculum is and how they're going to address those. So the high school course models, this is Appendix A of the Common Core State Standards. And what that does is it gives a suggested path. Now, it's one example, one model. It's not the only model. So this is not how you have to do it. Just because I put something on here, I'm trying to make resources available to you, not dictate to you what you should be doing. And let me back out of here. Oops, I can actually get out. Sometimes I forget if it's an escape or a back out. I'm older than many of you, so the tech's not as intuitive. I have a 19-and-a-half-year-old son, and he always makes fun of his mom, but that's okay. Yeah, he's adorable. That's why he's out in Berkeley and Boston becoming a starving artist, even though he should be like at Iowa State or the University of Iowa becoming an engineer or doctor, like his mom wanted. But so then under the Iowa Core Mathematics resources, if you go here, and we're going to take a deeper dive later, this is where you're going to find all the things to support instruction, assessment, and professional development to implement the standards in the classroom. This is a top 5. So the top 5 is something, and right now we're in transition. We piloted this in the spring with 2,000 educators. And basically what this is it's a listserv or a distribution list where I get a lot of things that come across my desk. Educators get a lot of things that come into their inbox. So what I kind of do is try to pick my top 5 favorite things for the week. And so we archive them here. So if you go into 2016, you can see what I kind of have been sending out, and you can access other things. So that's just a way to keep you in the know, which, oops, is part of my job. And I just exited out of that, and I didn't mean to. Also on this page, you'll see the State Mathematics Leadership Team. We have the largest leadership team out of all the content areas for the state of Iowa. I have a team of 90 educators that consist of classroom teachers, instructional coaches, AEA consultants, math consultants, AEA ed service directors, higher ed. We're a very inclusive group, so if somebody contacts me and says, hey, I want to be on that, we meet 4 times a year. And this year, so I have a steering committee where we plan it out. And this year, we are transitioning to learning teams. So the state math leadership team right now is currently learning about the Smarter Balance rollout and what we need to know in math so that they can support the field next year. And when I say the field, I'm talking about the educators, the practitioners, the student teachers, higher ed, and also principals to action. So that kind of takes care of our main math site through the Iowa Department of Education. We don't really put instructional resources on there. That's more of our policy and procedure page. So next I want to introduce you to our Iowa Core Mathematics page. We are super, whoops, sorry, this was the standards page, which we already looked at, where you're going to find the content standards, mathematical practices, and high school course models. This was the page that we're super excited about. So when I came to the DE, we had an old website where most of the resources were things that educators in Iowa had created to help implement the core. Because what happened is all of a sudden all these states found out they had these standards, and the field, the national field, hadn't really got caught up with it yet. They didn't have really great PD out there. They didn't have really great resources. Well, that was 6 years ago. So now we have amazing things that have been worked on the national level, where nonprofit organizations and different groups, where they spend all day doing that. So while classroom teachers are teaching during the day, and then we would like try to create things in the evenings and network and share them, these are organizations where they secure different funding from different organizations, one of them being the Gates Foundation and big organizations like that. And so what I've spent the last 6 months doing is really networking with all the national leaders to find out what's the best of the best out there. And so we had 3 buckets to fill. We had instruction, where we talk about standards, instructional practices, and some classroom resources, assessments, formative, summative, and large scale, and professional development, where we talk about learning, PD resources, and events. And we'll talk about how these are different, and we also put a survey here. So when you go to the Iowa Core website, so this should be your one-stop shop, because this is where if somebody is looking for something in the state of Iowa and they don't find it here, this is where you should contact me and say, hey, I'm looking for this. Because I have several different listservs of where I have a listserv where I can send an email that goes to all the state leads across the nation and say, hey, does anybody have this? And usually within 5 minutes, I get an email saying, yeah, or within 5 minutes to 24 hours, depending on who's right next to their computer, I'll get that. If I can't find it there, then I know some of the top leaders for mathematics that are national and as well as international, and some of them are American Institute of Research, AIR. We contract with them, and I actually have a consultant They're based out of DC, and I mean, they're world renowned for their work and what they've done. And so his goal is to make sure that I'm doing my job successful. So I'll shoot it over to him to say, hey, does anybody have this? If I still can't get that, then I also have this professional organization called CCSSO, and we can talk about that on another Zoom. But I contact them, and then they do the nationwide search for me. So there's virtually, except for some things for Smarter Balance that I felt were not as user-friendly for educators in the field with our rollout, I didn't have to create anything. So under instruction, as I said, it's already been done out there for us, which is awesome. And that's not all the content areas can say that. So that just, I mean, it's such an exciting time to be in math because we have all these great resources right now and it's trending so much. And it's just like, I love my job. I can't say that enough. So if you go in here under content and standards, you're going to see some research and the key shifts and course transitions and some information from the Hunt Institute that has some detailed videos on how the state mathematics standards came to fruition. There's some resources in here that address the shifts in mathematics, such as the coherence, rigor, and focus. Coherence maps, and these are in depth of what was the backstory and how they wrote the standards. So they wrote these, or sorry, those are the progression documents. So they're meaty, they're like 30 to 40 pages, but this was like how they unwrapped all the math to decide what the standards were going to be and how they were going to be sequenced. The coherence map shows all the connectedness. And what's exciting about this, and Achieve the Core did this work through Student Achievement Partners, is if you go into here, they just, as of last week, added the high school standards, but how you get to it is you have to go through 8th grade to get to it. So now you can see high school over here and you can zoom in on that. We didn't have that before. It used to just stop at 8th grade. So that's exciting, so that now we have coherence maps for everything. And I think that opened up in the same window. So if I, maybe that, nope, I think if I get out, nope, there we go. Unwrapping resources. In Iowa, we don't, at the DE level, we don't talk about priority or power standards or unwrapping or unpacking. But if you want to see a deeper look, focused by grade level, this is a great resource that you can go to. And again, it's Achieve the Core, and it just says the focus by grade level. And they have some documents in here that help you to have that deeper look. Achieve the Core is awesome. Illustrative Mathematics. This is also a great website where you can go to, and it will show you what was that standard supposed to mean. So when the standards were written, there was a team of 24 that all the chiefs, meaning all the directors of the DE, got together with all the governors. So it was a pretty small group, and they said, who do we know that knows math? And then they got this group together, and there were 3 leads. One was Bill McCollum, Phil Darrow, and Jason Zimbaugh. And so on the Achieve the Core stuff, Jason Zimbaugh, this is his group. They do this. They're a nonprofit. And also Illustrative Mathematics, that was Bill McCollum. And when I go to my national meetings, I'm setting tables with these gentlemen and talking to them about what is really the standard supposed to look like. How does that look in an instruction and things like that. So we're going to go back out of here. And we're going to go to assessment. So with assessment, we have our formative assessment. Huge. I actually also, while I was in the classroom, I worked for Smarter Balance on 5 different projects. I wrote for them several different times. I wrote items for them 3 through 5, 6 through 8, and some high school. I also was a contributor to the digital library, so I vetted other formative assessment items that other educators put into there. And also they came in and they filmed my classroom, and the module that's in there about formative assessment in the high school setting. My classroom's actually the Uber module, so they have little professional development. And when we go to this as a state, we'll have this, but you can also see, I think this is this is on the teacher channel. So if you go in here, you can see what my classroom looked like when I was in the classroom. And it was pretty easy to do because that was what my classroom looked like all the time. And that was regardless if it was 6th grade middle school or 12th grade. Then there's some performance tasks over here, which really are meant to get that deeper lesson with the mathematical practices in there. Under summative assessment, and we're going to dig deeper into this next month, but this is where you're going to find your assessment information that will align to the standards. And we'll be moving to Smarter Balance next year, and we're getting ready to train the state next week. So we're all in training all next week, but we'll do a deeper dive here. But you're welcome to explore that page. Let's go back. And then under standardized assessments, we were just really trying to make this a one-stop shop for educators. So we tried to think of everything that we could put in here. So this is where you'll find AP, ACT, Compass, Iowa testing, PARCC, Smarter Balance, all these different resources. Also on the bottom, you'll notice that these are surveys, and I love feedback. I really do try to make it the best that I can for the users. And so if you get into here and you have a question, or you're like, hey, I think you should consider this resource, or why didn't you do this? Let me hear from you. Fill out that survey, because I'm always collecting data. Next week, we'll have our state math leadership team, and as they're going through, they'll take like 6 or 7 surveys throughout that 7.5-hour period, because I want to assess their learning. I want to know where they're at. I want to know, how do I plan my next meeting? And I don't know how to make things better and how to meet the needs of my learners unless I get that feedback. Under professional development, because we're in a rural state, then we parsed it out in 2 different ways. First is professional learning, and this is where you would go if there's something that you want to know about, and there's more resources, but we didn't want to overwhelm our pages. So as we were looking for different resources, I really tried to pick like the top 3 to 5 resources, or to put things that I thought teachers have to have access to this. They have to know about this. And so oftentimes I wanted to know about things in the classroom as an individual, and I just wished I would have known about some of these resources so that I could have developed my own skill set. Under professional development resources, this is for our instructional coaches, or AEA consultants, or curriculum directors, or data team leaders, or PLC leaders. This is more for this is ready-made professional development. There's a lot of ready-made professional development out there that are done by our national leaders. There are 17 national organizations for math across the country, and the two big ones that support instruction are NCTM, which is the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics, and also NCSM, which is the National Council of Supervisors of Mathematics. So teachers usually go to NCTM, and instructional coaches, or AEA people, curriculum people, go to this one, NCSM. I go to different things. So these are add-ons for me, but this is where you'll go to hear like, oh, I remember she told us that, or hey, I learned about this, shoot me an email. Hey, April, did you know about this? So we've got this parsed out in NCTM and NCSM resources, instructional resources, and coaching and leadership. The last part of our website is the professional events. And this calendar here, this is a one-stop shop of what you can see is going on across the state. So we tried to put the regional stuff. So currently NCTM Regional Conference is going on in Philadelphia. This is where we're having our virtual network. I have a virtual Q&A session for my state math leadership team, because it's often my higher ed, I tell you, they are committed to you all because they hate to miss class. And we always have to meet on Thursdays. That's just how the schedule is, and all the AEAs do their schedules. And my higher ed's always like, I can't leave my class four times on a Thursday. You know, just imagine in the classroom what that would be like. And they have the same commitment to you all. So that's just amazing. And so we'll try to put national, regional, local, as AEA people give me their information. We're really trying to work smarter, not harder, and using technology, build that central hub of where is this stuff all housed? Because it's a nightmare to try to just go out and Google it all. And then again, down here on the bottom, we'll feature. This is Brooke Fischels. She is the president of the ICTM. I've known Brooke for about a decade, and it's funny, we were both classroom teachers working on a research project about a decade ago, and now she's the NCTM president, or the ICTM president, and I'm at the D, and it's kind of just fun to be like now, well, now like we've kind of grown up a little bit. So that's super fun. And across the top, we'll just feature different things. These are 3 of the best sites that you can go to for resources and anything you want to know. And they have instruction, they have standards, they have PD there. So these are my 3 favorite picks. These will change. There was a slider up there for the ICTM conference with the registration to promote that. Whoops. Okay. The last main thing I'm going to talk to you tonight about is principles to action. So principles to action was NCTM's call to action in response to the new standards. Because the content is one thing, but unless we get effective teaching practices to really bring the mathematical practices to fruition in the classroom, we're always going to be at that depth of knowledge level 1 and 2, that DOK level 1 and 2, right? It's always going to be the skills and the concepts. And we want thinkers. I used to tell my students, I want thinkers that will be able to go out into the world and solve the problems that we don't have the answers to yet, because that's what problem solving is really about. And that's how we go out and we're successful. You know, there's so many problems out there where, like, for example, like, how much should people be able to get from Social Security off of what they put in? Well, somebody thought of some mathematical model and decided this is what it is, and that's what we go with. It's not the only model, but it is a model. And so it's things like that. How much should families contribute to what should be their estimated cost contribution be per family? So within principles to action, there's actually 6 principles. There's 6 guiding principles. But within the first one, the first principle is teaching and learning. And within the teaching and learning are 8 effective teaching practices. These are a minimum. And this is going to be a 3 to 5 year rollout for our state at a minimum. I have committed to the DE that I am seeing this through to fruition, because if we do nothing else in the classroom, we should be able to do these 8 effective teaching practices that NCTM has put out. It is the most revered thing that they have to offer. Nobody in the nation says, no, principles to action is stupid. Math teachers shouldn't do that in the classroom. It's a blue book if you don't have it. It is known as the Blue Bible, and other states have implemented it in pockets, and we are the first state to really do a rollout. But the implementation science, because we have like over 330 districts, it's going to take a while to get that out there. So this June of 2017, we're going to have our launch. And so this is our launch, where secondary will be 6 through 12. And so you can go in and register if you're going to be in the Des Moines area. Would love to have you. And we are not charging. This is professional development sponsored by the Department of Ed. We are not charging. And so then elementary, you can go in and register here. So on that first day, Steve Linewand and Peg Smith from the University of Pittsburgh, huge national, international leaders in the field. And there was a team of 10 from NCTM that wrote on this. Out of the 10, I connect and know 5 of them. So Steve was a lead writer. Deanne was a lead writer. She was elementary. Matt Larson, the current NCTM president, he was one of the writers. He was unavailable in June, so he won't be joining us. So please go in and register for that if you'd like. And there is a toolkit in here. So what NCTM did is, after they wrote this and they heard from the field, and this was their response, is they actually made professional development modules where you can go into here and they've already done the work. So there is a video in here, there are slides in here, there's video transcript, it's about the teaching practices, there's a lesson guide, tons of resources here. They really did a great job, because in addition, they also talked about access and equity, which is huge. I had an underappreciation for, I'm like, well, the kid's in my room, like, he's got access. And I did not understand that just because the student was sitting in my classroom didn't mean necessarily he was able to access the information. So that is something definitely that I have a greater appreciation for that I didn't before. Also from that, there is, they came out with, so if you have the book, you can work through the book in the form of a book study. They've actually laid it out on the 8 different effective teaching practices on teaching and learning. So there's a book study, and they give you the questions and discussion points, so you could use this in a PLC or a book study group. And after you get through the 8 practices and you get down to the bottom, you'll see the other principles to action, which are access and equity, and they call them the essential elements here: curriculum, tools and technology, assessment, and professionalism. So those are the other 5, but since I'm in the Standards and Curriculum Bureau, we really focus on the teaching and learning part. Also, those lead writers that we talked about that we're bringing, Deanne and Peg, they have a writing team that's working on taking action. So this will be the next step after Principles to Action, and that's due to come out in March. And they will have an elementary, middle school, and high school. So it's going to take it to a deeper level. And when I talked to the NCTM president, or past president, last week at our SCAS meeting in Minneapolis, I said, are they going to have PD kind of like the modules for principals or for the taking actions? And they're hoping. So as they hear that demand, then they'll have, they'll create these types of tools for us. So it's exciting to be in math education at this time and to be in my position, because I feel like I have these tremendous tools that other educators have come before me, and we can just benefit from it. So that is really my goal, is how can I give you those things to help you be the best teachers in the classroom. So this is the time where I'll stop talking. We have about 10 minutes left for questions. After we finish, you will receive a survey. So if you would give me that feedback, that will be great. This is my email. This is also my Twitter, and I'm new to Twitter chats, but I fell in love with them. And so I'm actually going to get coached up on some Twitter chats so that we can have our own. So don't leave just yet, because there might be a question asked that you want to know. And also, if you came in late, in order for me to have attendance, please put your name up in the chat box for me. So will I be able to send us this document so we can register at a later date? For Amy, I'm not sure what you were asking about that question, but yeah, the thing on June 4th, if you go to the Iowa, thank you for clarifying that. If you go to the, yes, it will be in the slide. It will be in the slide deck that I will provide. I will post this on the website after we're done. I just waited for the second one, be able to post it. Like I told them this morning, I never record the first one, because it's kind of like when you teach a lesson, the first time you do it, it's kind of clunky, and the second time you do it so much better. And so I tend to record the second time when I do things. So after I do that, I will put the recording on the website, I will put the slideshow on the website, and I will include those links when I email you. So that's a great question. Let me see if there was another question here in the chat. So just make sure you put your name in here for attendance. And I believe you can unmute yourself to ask a question. If you can't, would somebody let me know in the chat that, no, we can't unmute? Oh, I can actually unmute everyone, I think. Let's see here. I'm still kind of new to this, so if I unmute all. Okay, so if there's any questions. Oh, somebody has a dog. That's awesome. I have a dog too, and a cat. This is really your time. I'm sure there's some questions out there. Please don't be shy.
So is this just an informational session?
This particular one is, this was just to kind of get things going. Our next month, we'll be taking a deeper dive as this grows. So what we'll be working on next month, that's another great question. So next month, what we'll be looking at is actually doing some learning on the summative assessment as far as Smarter Balance, and what the different claims and targets and what that looks like for grade levels. So we'll do that. We're also hoping to grow it into where we are doing some principles to action learning together. And it's kind of, I'm really into formative assessment too. So when you get that survey, I'm going to ask you, so what can we do to make this better? Because this should really be a resource for you all, to give you all the support you need.
April, I have another question. Our next session is December 1st, correct?
Correct.
And we actually have a class, face-to-face class on that day, and it's 5:30 to 8. So do you think we can just like watch it as a group in a classroom?
Oh, from 5:30 to 8? Yes.
Yeah.
What you could do is you could actually, if you have a way to project it, like one person could log in and then everybody could watch it together. Sure. You would just have to, if there was a question, you would just have to monitor probably the mic and the feedback. Yep, that would be awesome.
Okay, I'll talk to our instructor and see what she thinks about it.
Yeah, that would be great because, yeah, we're going to talk a lot about, like I said, currently we're only talking about the summative assessment piece for Smarter Balance. And then after we kind of get everybody up to speed on the summative assessment piece, then we'll be talking about the formative assessment piece because that's just so much deeper. I mean, that's really what's going to impact instruction, right? The summative part's just going to measure whether or not we gave good instruction.
Right.
So we're going to do the summative assessment part. And also on those feedback forms, if there's something, I mean, this is a great way too for me to be able to share information and even, you know, if there's something you all are wanting to know about and like you have that sort of class, then yeah, that's a great way for your class to benefit not only, but also people online.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. This is exciting for me. I love technology, and there's as much of a distance between people who don't like technology and my technology level as there is between my technology level and my son's technology level. Okay, like it's huge. And so I'm mid-40s, and so I have to learn some of this stuff, and I'm willing to learn and willing to, you know, explore and see different ways because I know, I mean, probably if I wanted to connect, I would, with all of you, I would do PD on Instagram and Snapchat, right? I don't know, Facebook and Twitter seems to be like an old person thing almost sometimes. Right, yeah. I know, there's this funny story that when I got my first smartphone and I didn't know how to use it, my son walked in and I didn't understand that if I just put my finger on something and hold it, like something would happen. And so like I said, he's out at Berkeley in Boston. And so last night he sent me a little Snapchat of himself. Yeah, it was a Snapchat. And he had put like some sort of face on it. And I've seen these. I didn't know how to do it. And so he texts, I'm like, how do you do that? I can't figure it out. I'm swiping, I'm scrolling, I can't figure it out. And so he gave me the directions. He told me to hold down on my face. Will you tell somebody in their mid-40s to hold down on their face? And the lenses should, or the filter should come up. Like, I'm like, so what am I supposed to do? Like hold my face down in it? I mean, it was hysterical to see it. And so I called him and I'm like, honey, I don't get it. He's like, Mom, literally just put your finger on your face on your phone. I was like, oh, right. Like, yeah, I'm willing to learn, but it takes a lot. Okay, so I don't want to just keep you all hanging on the line. Make sure that you do put your name in the chat box for attendance so that I can go into your registration sheet. It takes me a little bit for the video to save once I end the meeting and also for me to get it uploaded. So the video will probably be available. It'll be sometime tonight, but it takes a little bit to process for me to put it over to YouTube and to get it on the site. But after I get that, then I'll send an email out to you all. I appreciate so much for you all being willing to do this. And, you know, when I was in the classroom, it was kind of like, I'm like, we have a state lead. Like, I didn't know how to do it. Will there be any of these types of things to help incorporate technology into the classroom? Oh, we can, based off of the feedback. Yeah, I have a ton of things that we can do things on the graphing calc, like, oh, technology was a big part of my classroom. We can do tons of things. If you're not using Desmos, I love Desmos, love Dan Myers. works for Desmos now. He doesn't know, but I stalk him. He might know. I creep on him on Twitter because all of his stuff is amazing. If you've not heard of Dan Meyer, he's kind of the three act guy, and I think I put his stuff over here under teacher resources. Oh yeah, this is his stuff here, the 3 acts math lesson. Amazing stuff, amazing stuff. But now he kind of doesn't do this as much, and he does more stuff for Desmos. So if your name is in the chat box, so I have you for attendance and you don't have any more questions, you can go ahead and peace out and enjoy your evening, and I thank you very much. But if you still have questions and you want to hang out, I'm here. So if you, whatever, I'm here to meet your needs. Like, don't think, hey, she's like the state math consultant and like we can't just email her if we have a question. No, that's what I'm here for.
It's really bad. It's probably worse than yours.
Thank you for the feedback. That's great. I definitely don't want it to be a waste of your time. Time's too precious. So yeah, sorry, those of you that emailed me things privately, because I'm doing a screen share, there's not really a way for me to do it privately. I should have said that. I think there's, oh, I can save the chat here. There we go. And then I'll have it. So perfect. Then I'll have the attendance. See, I'm still learning what the technology too. Where did it go? I put it someplace magical. Okay, there it is. Perfect. Okay, so for the 5 of you that, I guess the 4 of you that are still out there, do you have questions? Do you want to tell me like what you're studying? Like what kind of things do you want to see in upcoming virtual networks? Okay, well, it's 7:45, so if there's no questions, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop the recording.